Hi, I'm Sim,
Hello, I am Patrick.
and we are Wizard
Wizard
Core,
Core.
a duo of friends that talk about movies, television, video games, and entertainment at large, as well as a plethora of other things.
Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go along. This is the definition of a pilot episode, honestly, because I don't know, dude. It's like the microphones might as well not even be here. Let's just fucking talk about this.
Yeah, what's the topic today?
Well, there's two topics. The first one is what got us into storytelling, and the second one will be how we believe that storytelling at large has taken a back seat, really in particular in like Hollywood, but also like in a bunch of media in general, and how it bothers the living hell out of us because shitty things get produced and we can't help but look at it and be like, how did this get made?
What happened?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I feel like when it comes to like the first topic of like what got us into storytelling, I feel like
I can boil it down.
because I feel like you can boil it down a little bit better than I can.
I can boil it down to three things.
I'm gonna shift my seat. Sorry, people, if you hear this in the thing.
I thought you said shit your seat
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah, right now it's like I'm gonna shit in my seat.
I boil it down to three things. One being my parents, being like really big movie people as well.
Oh,
Mainly
yeah.
my mom. My mom watches
Yeah.
everything and loves everything.
Dude,
And
your parents have like almost as big of a media collection as
they
you
did.
do.
They had
That's-
pretty big. They had a huge VHS collection.
Oh yeah.
A way bigger VHS collection than a DVD collection. And so
Well,
I
that
would
makes
watch
sense because they're
a ton of VHSs. I would do. I would put. I would do the theater experience when I was like 5, and I would line the couch with my like stuffed animals, and I would put on movies for all of us to watch, like I was in a movie theater.
That's pretty fucking cute.
Yeah, and we would watch like Star Wars or what was it, 98's Godzilla? I love that movie. I ran that.
Is that the one with
I cried when I tried to get it from the we had like we didn't have like an official stand for like VHSs. It was like in a closet. And it was like lining the top of the closet, you know, where you put all the shit in the storage.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get a DVD underneath like a stack, and they all came down, and I broke the Godzilla DVD, and I cried because I watched it a lot. I love that movie.
Wait, is that the one with
Matthew Broderick and Jay Reno?
I was gonna say, who's the guy that got drunk and killed somebody? That's what I was gonna say.
I mainly Jay Reno when he's like chewing gum, and he's like, why do you chew so much gum? And he's like, makes us look more American. I love that line.
It does.
Yeah, but
I've only seen the movie like all the way through like once. Yes, Sim is drinking straight up espresso. That I just made him.
And doing lines of cocaine.
Yeah, you don't know. You can't see us. There's no video portion to this yet.
But yeah. You said you've seen it only, once?
Yeah, I've only seen that Godzilla. That might be the only one I've actually seen all the way through once. I mean, we talked about this. I watch clips of everything instead of watching movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen a ton of... I think I've seen, weirdly, like recently, most of what I've seen of that movie has been in, like, Corridor Digital's, like, VFX artist react thing, because they talk about that movie a lot. Because even though, I mean, do you like that movie still? Because apparently, I mean, what's his name directed it? Whatever his name is, the disaster movie guy.
Jerry Bruckheimer? No.
No.
Did he
No. Jerry Bruckheimer's no, maybe.
Who the fuck? He did Independence Day. Directed Godzilla.
Yeah, and he did that.
What the fuck is his name?
Yeah, I don't.
Why you asked me too quickly, and now I can't think. It's like that one of those brain fart moments.
Hold on, we
have
IMDb.
While you look it up, I'm gonna say my second thing is being a military kid growing up and moving around, and like not having friends. And so I found like comfort in watching movies. Like I'd come home from school and put on like a movie to watch, and the world was
Yeah.
okay for like 2 hours. You know,
I kind of really, I'll talk about that if I remember.
and so that's kind of like what got me into story. I know we're talking about movies, but like I relate.
Well, it's
You know,
more, the topic is a bit open. It's more about storytelling
Yeah,
in general because
yeah.
it's not just one thing.
What got me into what I will say overall, and what I base the three things around is I think movies overall got me into storytelling, and
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
different people get into storytelling through different ways. You know, there's writers who get it from like books, and then there's
Yeah.
like different people like storytelling from different aspects, and I like screenplays and movies, and so I correlate storytelling with movies.
Yeah.
And I like the stories those are told, and I like the visuals of that storytelling world. So that's where I'm coming from here, right?
Yeah.
So forgot to prerequisite that with my three things that got me into storytelling. But yeah, no, like growing up, moving around a lot in a military family, just watching a ton of movies because it didn't have a lot. Like you move to a new place, by the time you eventually make a bunch of friends, and then you leave.
But you're moving around all
Yeah,
the
then you
time.
leave, and then you start in a new place, and you don't have any friends. And growing up, I didn't have like a cell phone and shit, and so
Well, yeah, neither did I.
so it takes time to make some friends in a new place, and I'm kind of the nerdy kid, and kind of so it took a little bit of time to make friends. So like during the at least initial portion of moving, I would just watch movies and do that. Did you find who it was?
Yeah, it's Roland Emmerich.
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah.
That's who it was. Did he? I don't know what he's made.
He
White
made-
House Down, right? Was that like?
No, well, maybe I know what
I'm talking about recently. but-
recently he made that one about the moon. What was it called? The one where the moon gets close to the Earth and it's like causing gravity. You
Oh
remember
yeah, I
with
didn't
the-
see that.
I didn't
Is
either.
it-
What's
but
the-
I know who's in
It's
it.
called like, is it called Moonfall?
This
Hold on,
sounds
I have,
creative.
yeah, it's called Moonfall.
Oh boy.
The most, it's the most creative moon.
It seems like
It
he's
has
still
a-
making the same exact movies
it's
he was
with a-
making. He did 2012 as well, right?
Yes, he did. In
Okay.
2009, he did 2012.
Yes, that's when that was like. That was when
That
it was
move- that-
peak,
that movie-
peak. The world was going to end in 2012. I remember. I
remember
lived.
that.
I lived
I
in
remember
Mexico.
that.
I was in Mexico City in 2012. That was before I met you. We moved. I remember.
we met. That was 2 years. 20. We met in 2013. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. But I was in Mexico when the world was supposed to end, and I remember being
You're like,
in
I'm
a
at the
hotel.
epicenter.
I'm at the epicenter of this shit of
Yeah.
Mexico City.
Yeah.
Just moved to Mexico City because my dad was working at the embassy, and I remember being like, "Well,
Well,
nothing happened."
yeah. I remember I was in. I remember. Well, I was in. I guess we both. Well, actually, no. Wait. No, I was in middle school at that time, like last year of your middle school. You had to have been in because you were a year. You were a
last year
year.
in middle school. Were you a freshman when I met you?
Yeah, I'm a year and a half younger than you are. So yeah, because remember you
No, I met you as a
You were-
junior.
2013 in the fall. I was I was a sophomore. Oh yeah, you're right.
No, I was
You're
a
right.
junior
You're
because I
right.
did my
You're
final
right.
year,
You're right.
junior year.
You're right.
And then I did the last half of my junior year, and then I finished out my senior year where we met.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I get it mixed up because
We met in film class, by the way. That's
yeah. Well, we will.
funny enough. We'll cover that later.
We'll cover that either in this episode or whatever. But yeah, I remember that because not that it really matters for you, listener, but I remember that because I get it mixed up in my brain because I did my first year of high school in a different school, and then we moved across the city. And that year when I started is when you and I met because you came in like
Halfway through.
it was like
My
it was like
junior year.
it was like January 2014.
I did so many I was covering this with my parents the other day, and I did so many half years growing
Yeah.
up. It's insane. I didn't realize
Yeah,
how many. I
how
think I
many.
did like 4 or 5 half years, and then
Yeah.
would move halfway through the school year and have
Yeah.
to start. Which is again why I don't have any friends who watched a lot of movies.
Yeah. Real quick, addendum to this. If there's any audio issues in this episode, which there may be at the end of the day, we're still going to post this thing because we're just trying to get this off the ground. But just know, audio listener, that if you're hearing shit, it will be fixed later on, basically, in the later episodes. Anyways, I guess I'll talk about my... We can talk more about your end of things late in a second, but I guess
I got one more.
Go
I
ahead.
had 3 things.
Go ahead.
And then my third
Please.
thing was Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Oh, yeah.
I watched
You and
that
I have
movie
talked about that.
when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
My mom, again,
yeah, that's
comes back around to the parents and moving around. We were moving. I was like 5. I was in first grade, and we were moving. We were living in Colorado, and we were moving to Bogota, Colombia. And we were in this little trailer on Fort Carson, and we had this little DVD player. We had DVDs now. And I remember it was my first R-rated movie, and
that's a hell of a first R-rated movie.
Yeah, and so it was Terminator 2, and I remember seeing the case with the metal skeleton, and I was just like, telling my mom, I was like, I want to watch that movie. I want to watch that movie because it just looks so fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, okay, because it was just like like blood and violence, right? And my mom was like, okay, I'll make him shut it because there's no like there's sex in the first Terminator because every '80s movie had that like
that one scene,
weird porno scene, and it's like overly sensual. But the second one didn't. I think it was all just...
No, it was... The second one doesn't have... I don't think any of them have anything like that.
There's like 2 scenes that are like somewhat... Like comparatively to shit that's on like TV now, it's not as fine. It's the
we have Game of Thrones kind of.
I mean that's HBO, but I'm talking about like AMC and stuff like Walking Dead and shit like that, where you can just get it on like a cable box and stuff. But anyway, it's the one where you like
Gen Alpha doesn't know what a cable box is.
He like shoots his arm out and stabs the stepdad in the face, and then the finger in the face of the police officer in Terminator 2.
When in the T-1000? The prison scene. Yes,
prison and
I was getting that mixed up when he rips the skin off of his arm and is like, oh. Like,
I mean, that's kind of crazy, but that was never like. I don't know why I'd correlate that with like it not being bad because he's a robot, so it's not like real skin and he doesn't feel pain. Yeah. And so like in my mind correlates that with like, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. Which it technically isn't because it's true.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
And so I, it is like that's not a bad thing. It's not like ripping the skin off of a human being. Like he does it himself, and he's like it doesn't affect him because that's not like real skin.
Dude, I rewatched that scene recently, and that scene
effects is great.
Dude,
that movie holds up. It's one of the. It's still my number one.
That
by
whole
the
movie
way,
holds up. Like
pilot,
it's crazy. It holds up crazy well. But that scene in particular, like just. That scene feels so unbelievably real. Mm-hmm. That one in particular, because it's so like, because it's not shot. Because James Cameron, especially these days, is like all in the CGI and like with the shots and stuff like that. But it's literally just like a locked off tripod shot, and he just takes it off. It's so like, it's so like simple and well done. Like it's so well done. The animatronics of the arm. Not even the animatronics, like the skin that's on his arm. It's fake, obviously, but in the way they. It like looks like it's attached to his body and everything. I don't know, it's crazy. But you and I have talked about years ago. You talked about the Terminator 2 specifically, and I get that because that movie's phenomenal. And then at like 5 years old, I remember watching that with my mom in this little trailer, like this halfway place. I was gonna say halfway house, but that's that's not what you
it
were
was.
not. Yeah,
it was
you
like
were not in a halfway.
It was like transferred. It was the place you stayed in between houses when you were moving. I thought the action was fantastic. Me and my mom were both crying at the end, and that was one of the things where I was like, "Holy shit, that was amazing!" And I think that was like embedded in my head as like that's a great story that had action, that had emotion. It was everything. It's like a timeless thing.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that. I was gonna say that's like top 5 best action movies ever made. It's probably in the top 3, honestly. I mean, we talked about.
That's top 1 for me. It's my number 1
Well,
movie
yeah,
of all time.
in regards to like personal favorites, yeah, we talked about how Fury Road is probably objectively the best action movie ever made.
I would say yes. Fury Road, objectively best. I would
but when
say
it's like when personal preference,
very competitor with that would be Raid 2.
I haven't. We talked about add it to the list.
Yes, I'm gonna add that to the list.
Yeah, Sim is making a list of movies that I need to see, and that's one of. I haven't seen any of the Raid movies.
It's so good.
I know.
There's 2.
Aren't there more? But there's technically only
I thought
2.
He was trying to work on a
There's
third
only 2
one.
worthy ones.
No, there's only 2 right now. He was gonna work on a third one, I think, but then he moved on to something else. But
Or it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
What is his name? He's
The director, was it written and directed by this
same
by
dude.
the same guy?
Yeah. Is they're Indonesian films, but they're written by somebody who's not Indonesian.
Oh,
I want to say like Garth something, but it's not.
I could look it up, but we'll just leave it. You, the listener, can look it up
But
themselves.
Patrick, what got you into storytelling?
Weirdly, I was thinking about as you were talking, because we kind of weren't 100% prepared. But honestly, I think it was Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 specifically. Because
That's
mom,
a fucking answer.
Yeah, my mom knows. I don't remember. I went through this weird period as a child and it wasn't just with Toy Story. I don't remember how old I was. I must have been like 5 or something, or not even that old. And I literally watched that movie so many times that I memorized line for line and beat for beat, like Toy Story 1 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I rewatched really all 3 of them, but I hadn't seen them in like a decade, honestly. And I knew what they were about and everything, but I hadn't like rewatched them as like an adult. Dude, that first one, like, is so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, the scene, here's what really, it's the best Toy Story film, and here's why. Is because it's that scene with Sid, that horror scene with Sid.
That's in the first one?
It's in the first one. And it
mixed up the first and second.
You and I, we need to add that to the list just to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Because that scene is like actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
From Sid's perspective, that scene is terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's in a children's movie.
Yeah.
But I say Toy Story 1 and 2 specifically because 3 came out like later in like 2010, and the first 2 came out like, the late 90s, early 2000s. I still haven't
seen 4.
It's okay. Visually, fantastic. Story-wise, it's okay.
Yeah.
It kind of ruins a little bit. They do their best, but it kind of ruins the ending of 3.
Being like a good send-off for it.
It was a good send-off. It's not as good as the first 2.
I haven't seen 1 and 2 in like a long time.
Dude, when I rewatched, so I watched both of them essentially back to back, like within a couple of days of one another. Dude, the opening of 2, that opening with Buzz Lightyear, is totally Pixar being like, you thought the first one was good. Like it opens kind of like it opens almost like the beginning of The Thing with like, the spaceship and shit, but it's fucking Buzz Lightyear. He's not even a spaceship. He's just in his spacesuit, just fucking through the atmosphere and the music and everything. And that whole scene being, it's like the best Saturday morning cartoon ever. It's great. I don't know, but honestly, most of the things that got me into like storytelling and filmmaking were animated movies, and because I've talked about Studio Ghibli, but specifically like Castle in the Sky for whatever reason. Have you seen that movie? It's so good. It's such a great movie.
No, I need to catch up on.
You have to see
a lot of
the Ghibli movies, or Hayao Miyazaki specifically.
The Ghibli movies. Yeah, I need to catch up on a lot of those.
So the original title is called like Laputa for Castle in the Sky, I believe it's an Italian name, but Castle in the Sky is like, it's like the best adventure film I've ever. It's better than Indiana Jones and whatnot. It's such a like the aura of like whimsy and like just like peace, but also war and violence and like backstabbing and just the drama in it is like so well done, and it's so beautifully, especially for the time because it came out in like the late 80s early 90s. It was just like it's so you have to watch it. It's like it's so well done. It's in the you really feel for both all the characters. Anyways, but yeah, those two. So Toy Story 1 and 2 and Castle in the Sky are like really like what got me into storytelling. Cause like I read books, a lot of books when I was younger in particular. Like I can point to like, I don't know if you've ever read them, like the 11 Thumps series. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like, it's a YA fantasy, but it's like one, I'm really surprised that it never got turned into like a movie or like a series. Cause it's straight up like one of the better YA fantasy novels, like just the ideas in it and whatnot. I'm not going to go through like what it's about right now, but it's just really, really good. But there's something else I was going to say. Oh, I remember really like when it comes like later on, because I never, growing up, I didn't like want to, when growing up, I wanted to like write books and whatnot. Like I actually tried writing a book that was essentially a almost one for one carbon copy of the opening of the first 11 Thumbs book. But
I wrote a lot of stories growing up too. I wrote tons of like 20 page. It's horribly written in like fourth or fifth grade and going into sixth. I remember writing a lot of random, just random stories. I remember one was called Infection, and it was that one was crazy. But before I explain it, continue. Yeah, it was.
Well, I don't know. I mean, really, I'm just trying to be honest. I'm just trying to fast forward a bit because it really wasn't until I was in Nisley's film class with you and I'll call them like the OG gang in that class, that I really started getting into filmmaking specifically because my family, my mom's side, well, really both sides of my mom and dad's side, but they were, in particular, my mom's side, they were graphic designers and whatnot and illustrators. So and my dad was as well. And that's what I initially, from an artistic perspective, was wanting to get more into. But I never really trained enough when I was younger or even today to like do that at a professional level. And I never was like taught because my dad died in 2008. So I never was like taught by him or anybody properly how to do any of that. So it kind of like got lost in regards to like me. But I don't know if I ever told you this before I moved and like we met. This is when like YouTube was getting big and whatnot. I was wanting to be like a YouTuber with another friend of mine who I haven't talked to in like many, many years at this point. But if you hear clicking and clacking, that's
little pooch in the background.
Yes, who just dropped a piece of plastic from her mouth. Anyways, but yeah, that got me off topic. Oh, basically, I wanted to like get into like video stuff because of YouTube, but when I really honestly was introduced to everything filmmaking on like a technical and a story level in Nisley's class.
Okay.
Like, I mean, like I'd watched movie. Actually, that's actually technically not true. And let me explain this. This is actually kind of an important. I was thinking about this earlier. This is an important bit in regards to my end of things. I like was really into watching like those behind the scenes featurettes before when we met, like of watching like how people made movies. Like I would watch them a lot. Like I was like, man, this is like, how do they do this?
Yeah.
Like how do you even make something like this? And I'm not going to get super into it because I don't remember a lot of it, but that was a pretty big thing. It's probably why I'm so into like the technical shit now, because it was so like fascinating to me that like how much like work goes in and how much, especially in like the 90s and the 2000s in particular, how much like ingenuity there was during that. I mean, there was stuff going on before then, but anyways, did you want to say something? It looks like you wanted to say
Oh
something.
no, I was just saying that you were talking about you didn't get into like the filmmaking aspect of
Oh,
it
yeah.
till Nisley's class.
Before we get into that, we should probably explain what we're talking about in Isley's class.
That was our film class that we met in high school.
Yeah, we say Nisley because it was
It was
spearheaded by the teacher known as Chris, the mythical figure known as Chris Nisley.
Yes, he was one of the best teachers ever just because, I don't know, he was like one of those, basically a movie character, like movie character of the like cool teacher that's like, I don't know, let you kind of not like do what you want, but was like,
so he was supportive.
Yeah, supportive of it. Like this is when we took advanced film.
That was when it really started going up. That
like
part of
there
it.
Was a what is it? A syllabus of like what we were supposed to do for the year, right? We had to like each couple weeks we had to do like one thing off the syllabus, and I think it was like there was a 5-minute short film. You had to do a time lapse. You had to do something. It
was more like intro. Even though it was the advanced class, it was kind of more like intro technical things.
Me and Patrick and another buddy got together, and we thought, hey, what if we tried to just make a movie? And that would be, and so we pitched it to our teacher. We're like, what if we forgo all of the little things?
What if we just throw your syllabus out the window?
Yeah, what if we just throw your fucking plan out the window and we do our own shit? But we were like, what if we made a movie? We'll write the script. If you approve the script, we'll start filming. And by the end of the year, if we have a movie, you know, blah, 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 then we'll show it and that'll be our project.
Yeah.
And he said, write the script first. If I approve it, then that's a go. So we
did it.
We did it. We wrote a full script.
How long did that take? I don't remember. How long did that take us to do? It wasn't that long.
No.
It was like a couple weeks.
We came up with the plot. We came up with the plot. And then, yeah, it was 90 pages.
Yeah, it was a full feature-length script. It was kind of crazy that we did it. And then as quickly as we did it.
It was like a week or two, I think. We wrote it. And then I
think it helped because it was you. Well, I wasn't as involved as you and Austin were
in writing the script.
But I was kind of more there to like help steer some of the ideas.
Yeah, and then we got the approval from the script. Even though we had like cursing and it was really violent and shit. And he was cool with it. Like that's what I'm saying about this teacher, and he said, "Yeah, go for it." And so for the rest of the year, we're trying to make a movie.
We spent like 8 months.
We spent 8 months make it. We got 45 minutes. Edited 45 minutes. We didn't shoot all the scenes. We probably shot.
We shot 75% of the movie.
75% of the movie. What would 45 minutes out of 90 minutes be?
Whatever. It's 60 to 70 something percent.
Yeah. So we shot probably 75% of the movie, but only we edited the edited final cut came out to less than that, which was 45 minutes.
We shot
more scenes than we actually put in because they were garbage. Because we were kind of scrambling towards the end to fit more in.
Yeah.
And they just turned out really crappy. Like the overall the movie was very high school.
It's the most high. I've watched it recently.
Yes.
It's the most high school thing you've ever seen.
Yes. There's some good
moments, but it's a feature film made by high school writers and directors and actors.
And trying to corral a bunch of high schoolers to act in your movie while they're working on other stuff as well is hard.
That was frustrating. That was frustrating. I think really for everybody involved. Yeah. Because,
but he still let us pass even with the 45 minutes.
He still let us. He was probably more impressed that we got that much.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some good sequence. I think,
and it involved a good amount of people from the class too, like
good
acting
amount of people
and
from class, some friends.
There was a lot of people in that movie.
Yeah, there was quite a few.
There was like a lot of characters in that movie.
I drove up. I filmed that scene with Cody.
Yeah, in that bar.
I drove up
up to Austin.
Yeah. And and he had his parents had
It was like a backyard
Yeah, they
bar
built a
it was
bar
like it was like
in
a
their
shed, basically.
No, it was way bigger
Oh, it
than
was
that. They
it
built,
looked great.
dude. They built like a full-on bar in their backyard,
I remember when you showed me the
And-
footage, I was like, how did you get this?
and because it was empty.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would look like a full
It-
bar.
It looked like a real. I mean, it was.
Yeah,
It was
because
a
he
real
played the
bar.
bartender,
Yeah.
and he was like cleaning glasses
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
in an empty bar. And
I
you're
was
like,
All
What?
of a sudden, in this high school production, the production quality shoots up like
shoots
a
up with
lot.
this like empty bar with like there's like a stripper pole they put in and like
Yes.
a full like dance floor.
It was
like,
even- it was even
it was
lit-
a smaller bar. They
Yeah.
kept expanding it.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh,
It was
that's
even
a whole other.
the
story.
lighting in there too. Like we didn't use any film lights or anything of this. The lighting in there looked like a bar.
Yeah,
like how
it
you
was
think
a
a
full.
bar.
They
would-
had
it
like
was a full bar.
TVs up
Yeah.
on the. It looked
It
like
was
a
crazy.
sports bar.
It did.
That's when it expanded. It looked like a sports, but they had a full-on fridge in the back. They had like
Yeah.
6 kegs and beer taps. Dude, it
God.
was insane.
Yeah.
And it looked like we shot in like a little sports bar, but it was a bar they built in their backyard.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It
So
was-
we
it
had
was.
that scene, and my buddy Cody was the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Cody was the bartender. And we had that in there, and we both were characters.
It was competent. I remember it was competently shot too, because it was really only you.
At points.
Yeah, it was because it was only you two doing it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, the bar scene.
The bar scene.
Yeah. That's
Well,
all
yeah,
we
well,
had.
yes,
That's all we had.
well,
was
yes,
like,
to refer to
I
what you
went
were-
up there and
Well, yeah, 'cause you
I think
literally
we
just brought the camera
I think
up
that
there.
was one of the scenes that we shot too that we added in
yeah,
after,
yes,
after,
yeah.
after
I forgot about that.
during shooting.
It was during shoot because yes, it actually I remember
to like yeah.
it worked well in the
Yeah.
worked well in the
Anyways,
edit
not
too.
to like stroke our own dicks over a high school production, but this
No,
this
but it
was
did.
a whole,
It actually
this
worked
is part
well.
of like storytelling esque stuff, right? So
Well, yeah, it. I remember it worked well in the movie because
Mm-hmm.
it added. Because it was only well, I don't know. We don't need to get super into this. The point is that our high school film class teacher
Yes.
allowed us
Was-
to take
yeah.
on this monumental project.
and just let us go on it.
Yeah.
It's just like I've never had a teacher
I-
just
yeah,
like say,
yeah.
"Hey, just do whatever the fuck you want for the whole year. Just make sure you have something at the end."
Yeah, the closest I can think to compare this to, you know how like people in film school, like college level, will do like thesis films.
Yeah.
This was a high school thesis film in regards to scale. Like it was
And,
crazy.
I mean, and this movie had like guns and blood. We were saying like fuck. And,
yeah, he did
And
not.
we were,
He
we
literally just,
shooting
like,
in
gave the
bars
thumbs
with
up.
clear alcohol bottles in the back. And no
Yeah.
questions asked. Like he did that, and it's only 2 high school aged kids.
Yeah,
Like,
and you-
how
you
did
all
you get
looked like it, too.
access to a bar? You know, there was no questions.
Yeah.
We shot 45 minutes, and he was like, "Okay, that's an A."
Yeah, he literally, yeah.
And he had to plug in a grade for every semester too, because they gave out the quarterly.
Yeah.
And it was an A every quarter. He just kept letting us get away with it.
Well,
we were filming.
because we were actually we were
Yeah.
following. I think he did that because
'cause-
we were
'cause-
following through.
Because
were
we
doing
also
it.
came in during our lunch periods
Yes,
to edit the movie as we were shooting it.
So many lunch periods,
Yeah.
dude. It was like every day, literally.
Yeah,
it was
as we were filming it, we were editing it during lunch.
yes. Like you and I both. It was like
We were
you-
high
you-
schoolers and couldn't afford Adobe Premiere, and all
No,
the
no,
high
not
school
at
had
all.
Adobe Premiere and
Yeah.
like Mac computers.
And this
shit,
is
so-
like 2015 era
Yeah.
Adobe Premiere, the best era, frankly,
so
compared to
we
what it's
were
like
just
now.
Trying to do our best.
I honestly think we did, for the most part, I think we did do our best
Yeah.
compared to like what a lot of people our age at the time, at least in that school, would have done. Because I don't think he'd ever had, I think we're I don't know, I mean, he's probably retired now. I haven't contacted him in a while, but I think we're the only students of his that did that in his entire like career
did that?
that did like what we did, like the
Well, we're the only ones that asked.
I know.
I mean, like,
that's what
why-
I'm saying. Because I know.
Why
like,
would anybody else do that?
Yeah, because we're fucking. I know we're crazy.
we're-
We're crazy.
Well, who? I don't know.
It was kind of like
Just like
the stars
a
just
couple
kind
of high schoolers go
Yeah.
up cross-eyed, but like, hey, Mr. Teacher,
yeah. I don't know,
can we just film a fucking movie this year?
yeah, it was just one of those things where like the stars aligned because it was just like all the right people.
Because he was nuts, we were nuts, and he was like, yes.
Yes. Anyways, that I think I mean we kind of are going off on this tangent about this film class because that was a fundamental portion
I think what
of
you were saying, you didn't
our
really
history.
talk about getting into filmmaking till Nisley's class.
Because
and that's
filmmaking-
a fucking takeoff from there too.
Oh,
That's
well,
like
yeah.
jumping into that shit.
Well, yeah, because I brought that up pretty early on because like the early years when we were like kids, essentially,
Yeah.
or like, I mean, we talked about it, but like it wasn't really until we were teenagers
Yeah, but
that we really started doing stuff like writing things
but
seriously.
No, what's funny about what you're talking about there is you're talking about how me and Austin kind of wrote the script.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that I got into screenwriting way before.
Oh, yeah.
Like first, and not that like I remember specifically in 8th grade was when I was like, I want to do something with movies or something like
Yeah.
that. And
Basically the same for me.
I read like screenwriting for dummies, just a bunch
yeah.
of books.
Yeah.
And so I started writing all these fucking bullshit scripts and stuff, and did like a couple. My high in the 8th and 9th grade high school I went to. Wasn't a high school. It was a K through 12th school.
Oh yeah,
Well, not K through 12, but it was like a middle school attached to a high school.
yeah.
It was weird. It was here in San Antonio, but
Wonder where that was. I don't know.
but so I was like writing stuff, and I made like small. I was always trying to like get it. I was made little tiny films with my mom's like
Yeah, same.
picture camera,
Same.
and just like
Yeah.
filming stuff. But yeah, and so
You
I was
just
like,
reminded me of something. Continue.
But that's what I was trying to do stuff since like 8th grade, I think.
Yeah,
I
you-
remember because I up until that point, I was like switching around what I wanted to do because I've always been like really steadfast. I would always like get an idea and be like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, it was like it was around 8th grade. And I was like, at the time I wanted to be a video game designer, but all I was coming up with
We've never talked about the same. Okay, continue.
so all I was coming up with was stories for video games.
I did the same thing.
And then I realized that I loved movies more because I
Same.
had been watching movies the whole
Yeah.
time. I love playing video games, but I was like, I have no interest in like the design
Actually
of it.
making
Because I
it.
went to some like video game camp thing at a college.
So, not in college. Wait, you went in college?
No, it was at a college.
Oh,
they
I
had
did-
like
I
a
did the
summer
same thing.
camp. They had like a summer camp video game thing.
Never talked. I did the exact same
Really?
shit.
We've never talked
We've
about
never
this.
talked about this.
And I was like, I kind of fucking hate this.
yes. You do.
I was like, there's so much other shit.
It's so unbelievably technical compared to film. Even
I was
now.
like, I like the story aspects.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
creating stories, and I was like, movies are cool, and I like cameras and shit.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, I want to do movie stuff. I had like all clicked at one point of just like, I was like, I grew up watching movies. I love movies. I looked at my parents' like DVD and collection and stuff, and I was like, oh, I grew up on this, and I love doing this, and I love the stories, and that's what I want to do. And I remember I changed so much like my jobs, and I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to change it again. I asked my
You mean
mom,
like growing up? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, to me, this was like, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest
Yeah.
of my life. This is a big decision. But, you think everything's a big decision at fucking, in eighth grade, and it's
When
the
you're like
end of the world.
13,
Yeah.
14.
And so
Yeah.
I remember asking my mom to go to IHOP. And in my head, I was breaking the news to her that I was that I was going to
I
change
love that.
career paths.
Yeah.
And
Go
so we're
on.
sitting in this IHOP, and I was like, Mom,
Sorry. Go on.
I have something to tell you. And she's like, what? I was like, I don't want to be a video game designer anymore. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm just like, okay.
I want to make movies or write movies or something with movies. And she was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like I was like, in my head, I'm like, I'm sitting my mom down. I'm like,
This is a board meeting.
Yeah,
like,
this is like quitting your job to pursue your passion type of meeting with somebody like important in your life.
Yeah.
At 13.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I'm like sitting in the middle of an IHOP trying to have this serious conversation with my mother about wanting to be get into movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to have had, I don't remember it. I had to have had a similar conversation with my mom. The person, I mean, you and I talked about this even recently. Like the person, and you can probably add some to this as well. The person in my life that really supported it, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, was my Aunt McKaylee.
Yes.
Dude, she was
Wonderful
literally our number one fan.
Yeah.
From day one.
Yeah, filming stuff in high school.
And my grandmother, but in particular my aunt, because she was younger, obviously, was like, dude, I mean, the amount of, because she was living with my grandmother for reasons, the amount of shit that you and I shot at at your parents' place too, but between your parents' place and my grandmother's house, it was like practically a 50-50 split. Like when we met, I mean, up at like when we were in high school specific. I mean, even when like we had remember when you had graduated high school and I was going into my senior, but the summer in between. So it was before you went off to the military and before my senior year.
Yeah.
When we shot Brock Hawking, like that was the definition of like grandma's house movie.
Yeah.
Almost the entire thing takes place there.
Yeah.
Like,
but it worked out.
It worked. I mean, that, for those interested, just look up Brock Hawking movie on YouTube, and I'm sure
a link or something.
Yeah, I'm sure. However, we'll see if we can link it. That movie is nuts, especially with what it's about. I don't know if you and I want to talk about it, or if we just wanted to let it be a little treat for those that want to
continue on with this story.
Yeah, if we can link it,
we're just like reliving high school now.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, like, with this. Well, we have to move on, honestly, because we have to talk about the backseat to storytelling taking a backseat. But the point is that we were talking about the high school era so much because that was a really formative fundamental aspect.
Well, kind of like learning more about not just storytelling, but like actually technicals behind like filming and
really like
lighting and getting scheduling and
directing actors,
getting together stuff,
just so much stuff. But let's just, on that note, let's move into talking about storytelling in Hollywood in particular, but it seems to be a worldwide thing. Just storytelling in general, just like taking like a major, in particular, like I've noticed it in TV, but like storytelling just taking a major back seat in. Because it doesn't feel, I mean, it's always kind of been a thing. It's been a thing since forever, but it seems to be really hot, like, I don't know what the word is. It's like really noticeable now just how much like shit is getting produced and sent out, and like all this money is going into it, and the end product is just like so dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even think of anything specific. I mean, I can.
Star Wars. Anything Star Wars recently?
The Force. I was actually I didn't rewatch it. The Force Awakens, not as dog shit. But it was okay.
Yeah.
But post that, like everything besides the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian has been like really bad.
Yeah. I'll give the Mandalorian.
I mean, I know you don't like season 2 as much, but the first season of the
I
Mandalorian
like
is
season
like
2.
the first season of the Mandalorian was like, whoa, like okay, maybe
It
we're
was
back,
very
and then
like a Western. Though.
Yes.
I know people complain that it was like serialized.
but it's a show.
It was.
So is the original trilogy and the prequels and shit. It's technically, I mean, it's not
like,
serialized, but it's episodic.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, I guess there is a difference between episodic and serial, but I don't. But that like why wouldn't?
Thing.
Yeah,
it's not like there's no overarching. Well, there is kind of like there's an overarching story.
I get what you're saying though, because in the Mandalorian, it's not like it is pretty like he's out of. And then, except for like the last couple episodes, he's just in a place doing stuff with people. But honestly, it's like that is awesome. The way they did that was awesome. Like the way they wrote it and everything. It felt momentarily like Star Wars was back. And then, I mean, that kind of happened with The Force Awakens too. Like momentarily, Disney and whoever else that's involved now like had it for a second, and it just like wisped away into just total garbage. I mean, you and I talked about how The Last Jedi really tanked that.
Yeah.
I think. You and I overall like Rian Johnson more now, but
I liked him since
I've liked him since Looper specifically.
Was like the big one. I loved Looper.
Yeah,
like,
Looper. We've talked about Looper. People can complain about the time. Was it what is it called? The time travel
Rian
aspect,
Johnson
but it's a great movie.
The capability. It's something about The Last Jedi is just I don't know, but
yeah, I think he tried to do too much.
To like I don't know. Yeah,
he tried to do too much, and he took it in some weird directions that didn't really make sense for where the previous one went.
Yeah,
it didn't make sense. And then in the third one, they like had to like bum rush to like nullify like all the shit that he tried doing and end that trilogy in a way that still doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What's the Rise of Skywalker? Is that what it's called? The third one?
Yeah.
That one I haven't even seen it, but I just know based on what I've seen. It's like a train wreck. It's like they're trying to I mean I don't know. I mean it's
just not just Star Wars.
No, it's not just Star Wars. It's many. Dude, Marvel, the shows in particular, Marvel. I think She-Hulk, unfortunately, is like the best example of just why. Why did you present things this way? Why? Because I watched WandaVision, and WandaVision was good. Did you watch WandaVision?
I did watch it. It was like, I watched WandaVision, and that's the one I watched all the way through, and I just wasn't... I couldn't get into it that much.
I thought it was cool up until like the last like 2 or 3 episodes because the payoff was not what it needed to be.
I was off board with the first 2 episodes because it was just like...
Did it just not get into it quickly enough for you?
To me,
that makes sense. Because the first episode is literally just like
the first 2 episodes are homages, and I was afraid that was going to be the entire series because it would be like one episode was a sitcom and something weird happened, and you're like, oh, they're in something. Something's going to happen next episode. And the second episode was a homage to the next era.
The next
and it was
decade.
like, but it was it was that, and something weird happened, and I was like, okay, it was the same thing. And I think it was finally the third episode where it started to kick off, and that's when I got into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you didn't really need the first 2 episodes. No. I mean, I guess they were built. You could have done that in one episode, just like filled I think, tension building. But it was just, it took me, I was almost off board from those first 2 episodes. I was like, if this is going to be the whole show of just them paying the homage to, I like that when the funny thing is I like when Marvel does like the weird shit. Like when they change pace and like Ragnarok and Guardians and Ant-Man and
Ragnarok and the Guardians movies actually, I was thinking about this morning. Ragnarok and all 3 of the Guardians movies were written and directed by like actual like good known directors and writer directors, whereas most of the Marvel universe is not directed and written that way.
Yeah.
And that's why frankly, that's why they stand out in particular. Like all three of the Guardians movies are great.
Yeah.
And Ragnarok specifically is great.
Yeah.
Love and Thunder, no. But at least in my opinion.
But I think it's when they take a weird turn. And so I was down for like the idea of WandaVision being
yeah,
like
I was
a different
too. I was down
thing.
for Loki. I haven't seen Loki, but
I haven't
apparently
seen Loki either.
apparently it's not that
I
good.
just
But
kind of
Loki
fell
also
off
kind of
after Captain America and Falcon, or not Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. I watched half of it, and after Zemo left, I was like kind of over it.
I fell off. Well, I will say
He had the most interesting story. I called it back in Civil War. People called him a boring villain back in Civil War.
Dude, he was great in that
and
movie.
I was like, he's the most interesting villain.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a super. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
And I found that to be like the most interesting aspect.
That whole scene between him at the end and Black Panther, where he's just sitting and he's just like, I lost, basically.
Yeah.
And and Black Panther you can tell he kind of feels bad for him.
Yeah.
Because his reasonings behind why Zemo did most of the shit in that movie were they weren't good, but they were valid in some ways.
I love the reveal where the whole time they think that he's going to try to reactivate these older super soldiers, but when they get there, they're all shot and they're dead.
Yeah.
And he's just like, why would I want to do that? Why do I want more superheroes?
Yeah.
He's like, you guys ruined my fucking life.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's why I want you to kill each other. He's like, I want to break you.
Yeah,
he's just a guy. He's like special forces.
This is Civil War, right?
Like, that's Civil War.
I remember I watched Civil War like years ago now, and I was like, this is great. Like this, like it was, it's like a spy. It's like a legit spy espionage action thriller. Yeah. Like the scene that happens between Tony and Steve in the like silo, where Zemo's showing like what actually happened to Tony's parents. Yeah. And Steve tries to stop Tony, and Tony's just like, get out of my fucking way.
Yeah.
That was, and that whole fight that happens, and the fact that Tony like loses, that was like so well done. Yeah. It was like really, really, really well written. It was like
one of the best things about Falcon and the Winter Soldier is when they bring back Zemo, and my man still stands on principle in that fucking show too, because I think the villains in that want the like super soldier serum to use for themselves. And there's a point where Zemo has the opportunity to like grab it for himself and like utilize it or something or other, and it's like on the floor, and you like see him like contemplate like something, and you're like, oh, is he gonna do it? Like, is he gonna like break his code? And then he just fucking starts stomping on him, losing it. And I like, even as the bad guy, he still has his fucking
his morals, or however you want to put it, his ethic.
Yeah, his ethic of he doesn't believe in the like super powered people, you know.
And that's a talking about storytelling. That's a great. I
love that.
That's a great character moment.
Yeah.
Because it's even he is tempted by it, but he's like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, it's a great character moment for a great villain.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope they bring him back because he was
terrific
villain.
They probably have just completely forgotten.
I love Daniel Bro too. I don't know how to like.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's been in stuff, but he needs to be in more.
He was
things.
great in Rush with Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, he was terrific in that.
He's been in so many things.
Inglourious Basterds.
He's been in a lot of things.
Top movies.
He's been in a lot of things, but he never became like
big.
The closest thing he came to big was like Zemo, that character. I mean also Inglourious Basterds, but I'm talking about like more. I mean, Inglourious Basterds was very popular, but the Marvel movies were like insanely popular.
But yeah. Like as Zemo, I think, and then talking about like good, like Marvel was.
They were good for the most
like
part.
Good stories with the original stuff, and then they also have kind of fell off.
They fell off big time.
Like you said, push what we're talking about. They kind of pushed the like story telling.
They got
to
very
the backside. They are more interested in creating a cinematic universe than like making the individual movies interesting.
They're more interested in like a concept than like a story.
These movies are okay, but down the line,
exactly.
That's when it's going to get interesting, and it's because of this movie. And it's like, I just want I don't want to watch 15 movies.
And also speaking of that, I mean, the 15 movies and like 5 shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like why? Like they honestly really, they really shot themselves in the foot. I
Yeah.
think by making those shows because at first I thought that was a good idea, but they
Yeah,
like
because
it's so much
because
time.
also for anybody that's saying it's like well, it's like watching a TV show, and it's like
It's like
well,
no.
it's like you got to watch. Well, I kind of used to be, but now it's like 25 movies and like 8 shows, and
Yeah.
like it's everything.
Like I don't even know. Like there was a time for like almost over a decade because they just did the movies specifically, where like everybody, it became such a like literally like popular culture thing.
Yeah.
Where you could ask like a random person on the street where the storyline was going or where things were at, and they could pretty accurately tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that.
No.
That's gone, which is a really big problem for Marvel. Like even that new, it's going to come out at the time we're recording this, the one with freaking Harrison Ford now, the next Captain America movie,
Captain America,
Brave New World.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's going to be the Red Hulk.
But
Apparently,
he's replacing what's his name?
yeah, was it
for-
who died? Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
Good actor that died,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
He was William Hurt, who was in
Yes.
History of Violence. It's a good
Yes. Is that the one with
movie. Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
That's Cronenberg.
Yes, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's not like typical Cronenberg either.
Yeah, it seemed more like just a character drama
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah, it has some
the other
grody,
stuff.
It has some grody moments, but overall,
Yeah.
it's a good movie.
I've heard of it. I heard it's good, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Star Wars, like Disney. Well, it's Disney. It's all Disney now. They're like the Una company. What's it called? Like the biggest examples are Star Wars and like all of Marvel at this point, but it's even affecting like other things too.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of something off the top of my head, but overall, it's like there's only like been a couple. I think Knives Out was the first one was a good example of like a good original movie being put out in a long time.
Yeah.
That was like pre-pandemic. It was like 2019, I think. But like, I don't know, dude. Like, so much of what's coming, besides like I think horror movies in particular are kind of like the standouts in regards to like the good stuff, right? For the most part,
most recently,
like
yes.
recently,
I
as
mean,
of now.
always yes, but like recently, you got
Well, Long Legs.
blockbuster horrors, you got indie horrors,
Yeah.
you got art house horrors, you got independent horrors.
Because
Did
the
I
most
already say
recent,
independent horror. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know the most recent, as of recording this, that was like a big thing that came out was Long Legs, which I haven't seen, but you saw
Long
it.
Legs. There was a history of
No,
In a Violent Nature was also recent, which was also really good.
Is that one with Oscar Isaac and Jessica? No, that's different.
What?
I think,
No.
have you not?
That was A Violent Year.
Oh,
That was like 2014 or something. No,
Anyways.
Violent Nature is kind of like a Friday the 13th esque. It's basically that, but they like reskinned it. But you follow the killer the entire time, like tracking through the forest and stuff.
What was this one called again?
In a Violent Nature.
Oh, In a Violent Nature. I don't know. There's just like
I don't know, taking a backseat to storytelling. It doesn't. I mean, it has a story, but it's very bare. But it's overall, it was a different like take. They always find different takes and make it interesting and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just like I'm having a hard. I think this is kind of like the epitome of the issue that we're talking about. Is there's so much shit that's come out that it's vacated my brain because it's not worth. It's either not worth going to see or you see it and it wasn't worth watching. And that's like so much of what's coming out now.
Well, like most like trailers reveal the whole movie, and so it's like you're like. Oh,
and the
yeah,
reason they do that
doesn't-
is to try and now it's because they're like, oh, we got to get people in, like, and it's
and
like
you're like that doesn't.
like if
you know,
it's like
why?
you're not. The whole point
If
of
you
the trailer
can say
is
the
to
whole
entice people.
plot in the trailer. Is that you're good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've watched way more like recent movies than I have because I know. I mean, going back to the horror thing, because I know like a big one was like Hereditary.
I have to look down the list.
And,
I've seen so many
Midsommar,
movies recently that I'd have to like re-energize my brain.
I'd have to too, but it's kind of become like a thing culturally, where at least from what I'm seeing, where I don't think movies themselves are dying. I think the old model is dying of like how like because so the old model. What do I mean by the old model? Like I think because of the pandemic in particular, and because of streaming, the whole like theater experience and all that kind of stuff has really taken a downturn, and where most people are watching all entertainment is not even streaming. It's like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram Reels and whatnot. So now cinema is hardcore competing with the internet. In particular, the pandemic, that happened, and you couldn't go and see a movie. It all like went, straight to streaming and shit like that. And now they're having to compete with like literally like algorithms and shit like that. And it's really just like changed the landscape of how like media is being made and whatnot. Because right now I know in Hollywood in particular, specifically like geographically in Hollywood, because it's moving outside of Hollywood now, like in other areas of the states. Like Hollywood in particular is like really struggling right now.
Yeah.
Like there are so many, I've seen so many like reels or TikToks of people in the industry that are like working people that are just like, even like high executive people that like people say they know. There's like, dude, like we're in like a serious dry spell right now.
It's because there's so many more opportunities for...
Well, this comes back to the Jim Cummings thing.
Yeah, it's just like independent filmmaker. Well, first off, there's a lot more interesting stories coming from like independent movies. Like, look at the boom with A24 and
exactly
stuff like that.
They're probably the best example. We haven't even talked. Yeah, A24 is probably the best example.
Of interesting stories and stuff. But I mean, there's states, just within the United States, there's states with a lot easier filming laws and tax breaks and all kinds of stuff that...
I mean, the big ones are like right now. I mean, Georgia's been a big thing for a while.
Georgia,
but even like Texas.
That's where like, they film a lot of Marvel movies.
Exactly.
Georgia, Texas, New Mexico. I mean, there's just a bunch of... Like,
even places in New York still are still kind of compared to Los Angeles.
People don't want to be a part of Hollywood,
Yeah, because it sucked for a long time, but it sucks even more now. I think, even though we haven't been a part of it like other people have, but based just purely on like what I'm hearing through the grapevine of the internet, like. It just seems like it just kind of sucks right now to work in that system.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for people like you and I. And I mentioned Jim Cummings, and he's a great example of that.
Other filmmakers and people who want to get their stuff out there and want to film under different conditions other than, moving to LA to make it big. There's a lot easier and better ways to try to get your stuff out. I'm not saying that, much like you and I, it's easier and both harder to, it's easier to make stuff. It makes it way harder.
Easier. On a technical level, it's easier to make it, but it's harder to get it seen because you're competing with so
everybody.
Much shit. It's literally.
It's been easier to make, harder to... It's like the market shot up, oversaturation.
Yeah, I mean, for all the grievances that you and I'm sure we'll talk about when we review Chris Stuckman's movie, Chris Stuckman did make a movie.
Yes, exactly.
Which is good, frankly, awesome. Great for him. We will likely be reviewing that movie when we are able to see it.
The line.
The early reviews are not boding well.
But...
I mean, at this point, we're just over an hour. We're trying to keep these episodes about an hour, especially for this first one. Frankly, I know you and everything we've been talking about, we could probably talk about for like a whole other hour at this point. But, so yes, people listening, these conversations are the kinds of things that Sim and myself and other people we may have on down the line
talk about daily. So
yeah, I mean, Sim and myself literally have these conversations via text or phone call at this point on a daily basis.
Yep.
Hence why we're recording this.
And
Because it's like,
I'm-
why not? It's crazy. Yeah.
I'm Sim.
Yes, I'm Patrick, and this is
Wizard Core.
Core.